Alright, so welcome back to Uncle Jerk's Page Turners. Now in this series we just kind of take one and done issues that you can pick up off of the shelf or out of the back bin. They're going to be affordable, they're going to be fun, easy reads that you can enjoy on their own. This one is kind of a surprise for me. Normally they don't really do what I consider like filler issues anymore, but this feels very much like a filler issue. Now this is from the brand new 2019 Marvel Conan the Barbarian reboot. I was super stoked to see Zafino doing interiors on this. Now, I was kind of iffy because a lot of time, Jorge was the same way, but Gerardo's work works much better as black and white because, as we'll see, his art style is very interesting, and as you can tell, he's not from the US. But on the interior here, we have the little blurb, which I think is nice to have in Marvel Comics, because like, you're just going to pick up an issue, you need to know where you're coming in. I didn't even bother with reading this, but I can tell you that I read the entire issue, and the issue works perfectly. It stands on its own, and it's totally enjoyable. What's important about this page is Matthew Wilson. Now, I went into this thinking that the main thing we were going to be talking about is the art, because I'm such a big Gerardo Zafino fan, but it turns out Matthew Wilson killed the color job in here, and that is going to be one of the main things that we talk about going on in this issue, and I'll explain why. So we have the introduction of the color scheme here, and we have King Conan. I think this is sometime in the future, but we have Conan, he's killing a king, he becomes king, so he's King Conan now. We have the introduction of a color scheme, and then on the next page I noticed, I was like, wow, that's kind of different. There's this pink hue that comes in, but I was like, I just kind of chalked it up as to, to lazy coloring really for the digital age, because it's easy to do if your tones, or you hit a, like a, just a overlay of some tone or whatever, just easy to do. So I was like, whatever. But then at the bottom of the page, Conan's sick. He's the king now, and he's bored with all this bureaucratic shit, because he's Conan the Barbarian, and he wants to kill people, not deal with this king crap. But he comes down here, and he's like got this really nice green and yellow tint around him that invades this otherwise pink color tone. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. Then on the next page, this is when I knew things were getting intentional, because watching a lot of movies, I'm a big fan of David Lynch, and he uses color schemes to tell you certain things about his movie. I believe that Wilson is doing the same thing with this comic. We've got this bright pink color scheme that starts to invade and permeate basically everything else in the book. And if you look, it's cool because we've got a nighttime shot, and it's established here it should be blue, but it's not. It's purple because it's invaded by this pink, and the pink is the color of Conan's madness. And his madness is growing, and he decides that the only way to make himself not sick, to feel better, is of course to go fight a fucking lion, which they have caged up down in like a menagerie or a dungeon or whatever downstairs. This is a great example. This is why I love Gerardo Zafino. I mean, look at that. It's such a great panel. And then we move on, and that pink color palette is still very bright. It's getting brighter until we get, I mean, look at this wall. It's like exploding here. And the lion gets out, and Conan punches that bastard one time in the head. Bam! He's done. Lion's like, I'm outie. I'm done. And when I first saw this, my eyes said black, white, red. But if you look, we've got a nice dark black, obviously, solid black. But this red is pink tinged. And all of this white background here is touched by that insanity, that pink color. And the lion's like, screw this, man. You want to be buddies? And Conan's like, yeah, actually, that's really what I wanted, I think, is to be buddies. So at the end here, we have the end of this color scheme. And this is when it becomes very, very apparent. Like, even if you are, I think, kind of oblivious to what the color scheme means, that there are several color schemes going on throughout this book. Because we have this bureaucratic scene where Conan's having to deal with all of the bureaucracy and crap, and he's totally bored. but he's not as batshit crazy as he was because he fought the lion and he feels better. So everything's gold. It's almost like blown out. It's so white and sepia. It's super cool. Next page, bam. Conan's calm and cool and collected. He finds out about, I think they're pirates operating out of the local shipyard, and he's going to go and take care of them. So he's calm and cool and collected. He's going to go kill people. He loves doing that. That's what he lives for. And so we have this new, calm, cool, collected blue color scheme throughout. It's really nice. We have that up here in the corner, you can see, and it's being invaded by that pink color scheme. It's exploding and interjecting into that blue color scheme. We have the pink color scheme building here. All of the gore is bright pink coming down, and then the pink is subdued into this red. Now, Gerardo Zaffino is very, I'm sure you've noticed by now, his art is very interesting. It's unique, it's different. He works in what I call implied details. There's a lot of detail in between his line work. He doesn't use a billion lines to convey an idea. He'll use one line to convey 4 or 5 things. It's very interesting. But he's not like Jeff Darrow, where you would have, like, you know, each individual finger flying off of here, and you could see every digit and pieces of the head and stuff. And I love that stuff, don't get me wrong, but you don't have that here. So as a colorist, if you came into this and you tried to color it like it was Jeff Darrow, you would end up with this deranged mess down at the bottom. Wilson kills this color job. We've got this wonderful red, and it's definitely red, but it's a lot of pink. And it's that madness, that berserker madness and rage, that pinkness that's invading everything. I love it. And then this is one of the coolest fucking images I have ever seen of Conan the Barbarian. Look at those eyes, man. Look at that. This is a beautiful page. This is why I think Gerardo Zaffino should be doing more comic book work. This is why I think he should be doing more interior stuff. I absolutely love it. It's really cool too because we've got the pink color scheme in the back, and all pun intended, it's bleeding into the blood, but the blood again is not bright. Look how subdued that red is into there. So nice. The color scheme also along Conan here, the line work along Conan's arm especially, and up into the top of the shoulder and the face. The color scheme is perfectly laid underneath so as not to lose any of the vibrancy or dull down any of this amazing line work that Zaffino has laid down. It's great. And now we're going to start hopping more frequently between color schemes, because we come right from this pink up into the blue, because Conan's like hopping back into his window with his lion buddy, like, what's up, bro? I just went out and murdered all these dudes, murked some guys, so how you doing? Because I'm doing good. But we are reminded of what's happened down here, and this should be a nighttime scene, should be blue like this, but instead you can see the guards are pink, or the guards are purple, and that's because of the interjection of, like, they're looking at Conan's madness personified, like this pile of fucking corpses, and like, look at how pink that all is. And we do get some red as objects move really, really high into the foreground. Like, we get some red, but it's still not explosively bright red, matching like even this lettering, or like old lettering, or old comic book red here, like true blue red, true blood. And this is our first competing panel. This is really cool. It starts off on the sepia, and then it moves into the pink tone, which bleeds perfectly into the door right here into this panel, and then we come down into the calm blue, but we've got the interjection of blood into the blue panels for the first time. And if you look again, he goes out of his way not to color that like insane bright red. It's purple blood. So Conan is starting to lose it even when he feels calm. That's what this is conveying to me. And he's moving over here, and we've got a sepia tone going on. There's a body in the background here. So for the first time, Conan is bored killing, and we see the crown on a throne here, and it's all pink. So pink is again like this madness is moving in, and it's because of the crown, obviously, because he's king, he's going crazy, and it moves down, and the pink bursts into our first real explosion of bright, vibrant, like gory red. And it's really awesome. I love how it pops up. We have this awesome pink coming down into the first real red, and now we have more competing panels because we've got that sepia in the background, that boredom, and Conan's fighting these guys, but these guys are pink now, so he's bored and crazy fighting. He's getting just sloppy, and we got the sepia in the back, the boredom, but the lion's coming in, and if you look at the color job on the lion, it's very unique to just the lion. It's very pure and differentiated from everything. The only real pink tones are all bleeding down from Conan. It's the effects of his madness on like the lion is just defending his brother, you know, like Conan's his buddy, so he's like, fuck you, bro, I'm gonna cut you up. And he does. He cuts some bastards up real good. And the blood also is really cool because you can see how like dark it is in the panels with Conan, and then how more natural all of the blood that's actually touching and on the lion is. I really like that. This page is interesting to me because I hear some people throw around Frank Miller's name sometimes when they talk about Gerardo Zaffino, because they say that like Gerardo Zaffino or Jorge, conversely, or both of them, look like some periods of Frank Miller. I disagree with that. I think they look more like certain periods of Klaus Janson inking certain people, and people just associate Klaus Janson with Frank Miller. This looks like a prime example of why people believe that, in my opinion, because this looks like Klaus Janson, Len Varley, the color and ink team at the top of their game together. I absolutely adore this stuff. Wilson killed it in this issue. We have all the sepia, the boredom in the back, but we've still got that pink on Conan's swords to show how crazy he is. The lion's got this pure red color going on with him that's not so much infused with the pink. As it comes towards him, it gets more pure red, but it's got its own tint. And then we've got this pink panel up here. Then this blue panel, which should be like calm, cool, collected. We've got our first interjection of pink. That madness is starting to leak into here like full bore. There's not blood or anything. It's just the tones are leaking in. And these two panels are my favorite in the entire issue. I absolutely love the coloring on this. I just think it's awesome because Zaffino works in implied details, and the coloring on this is implied coloring, and I just think it's a perfect combination of form and fashion working perfectly together there. This right here, this is my favorite panel in the entire comic book. One of the reasons that I also got me thinking about Gerardo Zaffino drawing outside of the borders is because with that here, if you clean that up just a little bit and then you left that here, like this would have much more impact. And like I said, this is like my favorite panel in the entire book, and there's like no detail. There's very minimalist color scheme going on. I love what's happening, and it's just great. I love how it actually looks like it's pulling off of the page there with the shadows bleeding out of the panel. And I think that if some of this stuff was cleaned up, you would have like a lot more punch as that pulls out. Nitpicky bullshit, because this is an amazing comic. I am absolutely, this is just great. So we get to basically the end of that story. We've got all the color schemes here in one place. You're like, wait a minute, I don't really see the pink that much. And yes, we do. This is nighttime, so it should be blue, but we've got that pink coming into the blue in the back, so it's that purple color. We've got the pink going on in the blades as well. We've got the dark black blood here, but we've also got the brighter red blood dripping down. And Conan is no longer actually like glowing pink or anything. He's blue because he's calmer, more cool and collected. He's realizing things, he's growing, and he decides like, I gotta let my lion brother go. I gotta let my homie go back into the jungle or the forest or wherever it is. Another cool thing to look at, and this is just something that I think typifies why Gerardo Zaffino is such an awesome artist, is if you look at the line here, the lines are very, very sharp, very aggressive, very in your face. And then if we look at the line down here, even though, now Zaffino, again, a thing that I like about him, he does not go for a cheap shot here. This line's not like reared back like, I'm gonna claw you, grr, and like growling and being all crazy and shit. He doesn't have to do that. He just uses his lines to convey that this lion is a badass. And then here, he's got more flowing, more natural sloping lines, and it's cool because it just naturally conveys a sense of emotion to this animal, and he doesn't have to do a lot of, like I said, over extenuating. So I really enjoyed that. Then we have an introduction. This is kind of like an epilogue. Like Conan's like, okay, I'm gonna let my homie go. He goes to the jungle, let his homie go. So we get an introduction to this really cool green, lush, vibrant color scheme that's going on. It's great, brand new. And we get a silhouette of Conan here. Notice that we get some detail on the bottom of his frock and chest, arm, all the cape here. Basically, we're just losing his head and his legs. So, also the same with the lion. We can see the face here. We move down. They have a conversation. We can see that the shadows are super long underneath Conan's eyes. And that shadow's growing. It's super cool. If you watch, like, invariably, yes, things do get darker. And the lion is moving into the jungle forest area. We know this because there's a background here. There's no background here. So Conan's in like a plains, an open area. And the lion is moving into the jungle. And technically the lion should be getting darker. Conan should be getting lighter. But that doesn't happen. Conan gets darker and the lion gets lighter. I really like this idea with the shadows just becoming darker, representing Conan's like super dark emotions, stoic and, depressed and shit, because he's letting his lion homie go. And we get like super dark shadows, and yes, we see that they're out in the open, and as he comes further out into the open, you can see like these shadows just start to like envelop his entire character. And on this last page, we again have a black tonal shift with Conan here, like the shadows get darker and darker and darker until he's very covered in this last panel. We also, I think it's really nice, we have an introduction of that nice natural lion color scheme here. The blood is that natural blood color that I pointed out earlier, and also the grass is not like glowing green anymore. As you can see in like panels, like it's just not that bright. It's more realistic and more subdued with this color scheme. So that's basically it for the actual issue. In the back, we do have they're publishing an original Conan novella. As I said, I haven't been reading the comics. I own it, so I'll read it at some point. But the reason we're still talking about this comic is because of this letters page, the Hyborian page. It's not like a letter I'm going to point out. There's an email address in here now. That's what you do instead of sending letters these days. I'm old. Conan@marvel.com. Email these guys. If you go out and you pick up this issue, and I hope you do, and you feel half as strongly as I do that Gerardo Zaffino should be doing more major comics interior artwork, then drop Marvel a line. They don't have a way to know this. They're not psychic. I mean, they can always, say, hey, this guy's talented, this guy's not. But they don't even always equate sales with the right things because they just can't see the big picture. So email them, let them know what you think. This is a great freaking issue. I want to see more stuff like this. If you do email them, make sure that you point out Matthew Wilson because he did an amazing job in this issue. It's been a long time. I don't know if I've ever picked up an issue off of the stand blind like this and just been so gobsmacked by the colors in it. It's really amazing. Thanks so much for sticking with me, for tuning in.
Please do me a favor, hit that like button. It does me a lot of good. If you really enjoyed yourself, get in that comment section below and let me know. Hulk smash that subscribe button. If you do that, ding the little notification bell. Either way, thank you so much for sticking with me. Again, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and as always, I really, truly, and honestly ask only two things. Keep hitting them local shops and keep reading them comic books.